Hi, it's Dinah with Homeschoolific, and today I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help you with your homeschool through high school journey. All right, so my first tip is going to be expectations. If you've watched any of our videos before, you know that expectations is a big thing that we talk about, and sometimes we get the wrong expectations. Your high schooler is still growing, they're still progressing, and the idea that there is going to be like a light switch and everything's going to click, it's just not realistic. This is especially if you have an 8th grader going to 9th grade. Please, please, please understand that that 8th grader is just a child going to 9th grade. But there's no magical switch to make sure that they know everything that they're supposed to know right away. So high school is not a magical switch. Know that your child may still need you and that they may still need help and that they still do need some guidance. While independent work is definitely going to happen more often, instruction is still necessary. Tip number 2, include your child in your homeschooling decisions. Often when we're planning homeschooling things for our kids, we're not really talking to them about the plans. Part of the education of homeschooling is teaching your child how to make choices and how to make good choices. Not just taking the easy road, but also saying, we're going to take calculus because calculus will lead you to what you want to do for the future. Or like me, I do require that most of my kids, at this point, all of my kids, take algebra because I believe that algebra provokes thinking skills. And that even if you don't use it in a career, it helps the brain to operate a certain way. And so therefore, it's a good thing to do. So all my kids are required to learn algebra, but I talk to them about why they are required to learn algebra. And then they can help me pick out their electives. We can have choices. Often we are part of a co-op, so they get to help pick some of those. I totally do sometimes pick their classes, but I also let them know, hey, I'm going to pick this class for you, and here's why. Because I think the why is important, because as they get older and they start making decisions for themselves, it's easier for them. So include your child. And if you have any questions about that or how you're doing inclusion, how I do inclusion, but also make sure that everything's covered and that they understand that, I'm still in charge here, just let me know in the comment section and I'll be happy to explain that more to you. Tip number 3 is ask parents with older children or children that's older than yours, or maybe the same age, what are they using? Often as homeschoolers, especially for high school, we're like, well, what do we use? I remember when my boys were first homeschooling, although there was a lot of high school curriculum, it was nowhere near as vast as it is now. You guys got a lot of options, and which is really cool. But you're trying to figure out what to use. Also, can I teach it? All of those things. And if you're in that place where you're wondering, can I teach my high schooler? I can make a whole video for you, and I probably will, about how to educate your child above your capabilities. It is possible. Anyways, one of the things I did in the past, and I was very grateful for, is I asked a parent that I really admire and I loved her children, what were they using for school? And she gave me what they were using, and I actually incorporated those things into our homeschooling. That was a great idea. I will let you know that I pretty much don't use any of those now because, what works for you doesn't always work for another person and vice versa. But it led me on a beautiful path, and it was a really great direction. I love Sunlight. Sunlight was one of the ones she used for her girls, and it did really good. But her girls were really avid readers. And so while Sunlight worked for some of my kids, and we did enjoy it, and we do enjoy it, we use it when we can for our whole lifestyle. It doesn't work for all of our kids. So I'm not always able to use it. So just know that that can happen. But it's a great place to start, to go in and say, okay, well, let's see, she uses Sunlight. And so what basically I could do is even if I couldn't use Sunlight, I actually still use some of the core, or I'll use pieces of it because it's a really good program. So if you have people around you and you're looking at their children and you're saying, wow, their children are very well educated, what do they use? I would like to know. Ask them. And parents, especially homeschool parents, we are more than happy to tell you what we're using. We love to. And you can just go check those things out. But ask other parents. They'll be more than happy to help you out on that. Tip number 4, stick to what you're using. So let's say you've done the research, you've purchased it, you talked to your child, you've done the research, you purchased it, you're utilizing it, and now you're wondering, oh, is this working? Unless you're hitting a definite wall. And I would say, like, for example, if you've watched any of my other videos, I have a profoundly dyslexic child. And if I was to use a traditional style of schooling, it just wouldn't work for him. We would hit a wall, and I would probably know within 2 months that there's something wrong. If it's that situation, that's different. But also, because he's profoundly dyslexic, I wouldn't do that. I already know what programs work for him, and I would always research the program ahead of time to make sure that it works for my dyslexic child, right? Anyway, so you've bought these programs and you're using it and you're wondering if it's working. A lot of times in the homeschool community, we're so quick to just stop and go to something else. I'm going to tell you, stop, breathe, dissect, critical think. What's wrong with the program? Is it the program? Is it me? Is it my child? Did we give it enough time? Are we actually using it the way it's designed, the way it was designed to be used? If we are, do we need to tweak it to our use? I don't think it behooves a child to constantly switch their curriculum a lot. So I think we need to be careful of that as homeschool parents. That being said, there are definitely times when you do need to switch. It's a balance. And just make sure that you've answered those questions, you've thought critically before you switch. Because I have found that for the most part, if I've done my research and I've done all that ahead of time, if we're utilizing the program, I can get through it for the school year, even if I decide, we probably won't use this next year. You know what I mean? Or if I would decide I'm going to look for something better. So you don't be so eager to switch. Try to stick through it. And, be careful about that. All right. Tip number 5. You are still needed. Boy, this is a hefty one. I'm going to try not to be on this too long. In our community, in the homeschool community, there is this belief that I am hands off at high school. Nothing is further from the truth. I am going to tell you that a lot of times I think parents thought this in my generation. Once my child was a teenager, I can do whatever I need to do. Now I can go back to whatever I need to do because they're pretty, they can take care of themselves. And guys, my mother said to me, she said, I thought that you guys needed me mostly when you were little. And this is true. Kids do need their parents. We learn so much from our parents the first 7 years of life. But what she realized was that we needed her just as much in our teenage years. Teenagers are going through so much. I'm on my 4th one, guys. I'm not telling you something I don't know. Teenagers go through so much. Their brain is doing so many different things. There is so much going on, and we are throwing a lot at them for high school. High school curriculums ramp up. They go. And they do treat it like a light switch. I swear, it's crazy. It's like a light switch for these companies. And so the idea that they don't need you, one of the most hurtful things I remember hearing from one of my kids is, he had not done much of his schoolwork, and unfortunately, I did not pay attention well enough. I have made a lot of mistakes, guys. This is why I do these videos, to help you to not make these mistakes. And I said, baby, why didn't you do all this work? He said, well, I kept doing the same lesson over and over. I would rewatch the video and do it over and over. Okay, but that's not how you were supposed to do it. You're supposed to come ask me. I said, baby, I asked you every day, did you need help? You told me you didn't need help. He said, well, I thought because I'm in high school, I'm not supposed to have your help. And that just really got me. Like, what did I say to him to make him think that that I was not available to him if he needed my help? What did I say? What did I do? What did I project? And it was a rough time of life. I was having my fifth son. My mom just had another stroke, and yeah, there was some crazy stuff going on in life. And somehow along the way, my child got the idea that I was not available to him if he needed help, and that was not what I was trying to convey. And I think though, I think in the homeschool community, and maybe I did channel some of that and project it to him. I think we've misunderstood this, and that's not the case. That's not the reality. And I know a lot of people will say otherwise, but here I am on my fourth high schooler, and I'm going to tell you guys, they need us. They definitely need us, and they need our accountability. And you don't have to necessarily be the person teaching everything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you need to be present. You need to be able to be there for help. You need to be there for conversations. They're going to still want to talk to you about things that they learned. The idea of this is not reality. You are still needed. It's just in a different way. You get what I'm saying? So while you don't have to teach them every subject, you do need to give them an instructor. Or let's say you do a program like Sunlight, and it's basically, it's literary based. Well, they should have some kind of guideline where they're answering questions, and you should actually be checking that to make sure they're grasping what they're reading. And if they're not, then you need to go ahead and have conversations with them and see what's wrong. Do not believe for 1 second you are not needed. I have made this mistake, and it is a painful mistake, and it's not something that just goes away. You know what I mean? You once that year is past, it's past. So you're needed. Don't check out. Don't check out. Bonus tip. Another thing in our homeschool community that I hear a lot of parents say that they give, people love to give advice. We do love, you're watching this and I'm giving you advice. Homeschoolers, parents, we love to give one another advice. Advice is great, but you take that advice into your brain, you take it into your mind, and you process it and you see if it works for your family. Do not take it for gospel. It is not gold. So if somebody says to you, you need to be involved with your child's high school education, and another person says, oh girl, just give them what books to read and just make sure they've got it done, you don't really need to be involved. You take both sides and you process that and you work that out, and you do more research and you critical think about this. Do not take someone's words and just decide this is it, okay? Think about it and critically, and make sure, because this is only your child's future, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that to say, oh, freak out. No, I'm saying that most of the mistakes that I have made in my homeschool career, has been listening to other people and going against what I felt in my gut. And when people would ask me, why do I feel so much guilt about certain things, mistakes I have made, I'm okay with mistakes. I own my mistakes. I struggle when I went against my own gut or my own knowledge and listened to what the masses said. And I'm just going to give you guys this tip. Please take it. Don't do what the masses tell you to do. I constantly go into Costco's or lines, and the masses is in the longest line. And I look around and I go stand in the short line because all the sheeple walk through like that. You know what I'm saying? The critical thinkers look around and say, there's a better line, I'll go over there. So critically think about what works for your family. The way I do it may not work for the way your family goes, may not work for how your children's mind work, for how your family's daily flow is. It's different for everybody. So just take that time and take this information and process it and produce your own thing. Homeschooling through high school is easy in a lot of ways. Yes, you are going to be present. Yes, you are going to be helpful, but it's not going to be as involved and as hands-on and as prepped as it was for the younger grades. That's the beauty of it. But you are there, just in a different way. It's just like with parenting. In a lot of ways, your toddler needed a lot of protection to make sure that you save their life. Well, so does your teenager, but just in a different way. So I hope this video helped you. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like this video. Go ahead and check the description box below. We've got our whole homeschool curriculum teaching you how to do this homeschool thing the right way. We got links down there for consulting. If you'd like to consult with Lavonda or I, we are happy to consult with you. And then we also have a link down there in the description below for our 75 best, most essential homeschool links. It's absolutely free. You just go ahead and click on that link, put your email address in there, and we'll send you that for your download. So have a great day. Thanks for